This is Magic and How to Fix It. This episode, A View from the Top, read by Molly O'Donnell.
Where in the realms is Zahira? Mayor Wilson asked. A sudden storm had ripped through the city, tearing apart buildings and knocking down trees. The island hadn't seen a storm like that in decades, more or less out of season than this one had been. The mayor was putting off hiring a new cleaning staff as the last one had quit without notice. Happened to be his great idea to save money in the meantime and spend it on refurbishments for the town hall. Not the entire building. His office. With the festival and the election on the horizon, there just wasn't any time. He thought perhaps his assistant Jenny would take care of it for him. Obviously, he was mistaken. Their bodies blocked the stream of light that poured into the office from the window. Shadows spread through the room across the deep red carpet and onto the walnut desk behind them. A scry was set on a stone pillar in the centre of the room. The bowl atop the stone had sparkling crystals settled like grains of sand under a clear pool of water. He often allowed it to run dry, blocking any contact from ruining his midday nap. Though there would be no napping today, he scowled at the thought. No one's seen her for at least a week, Jenny explained. They both looked out onto the plaza where banners were strewn across the square and debris decorated the fountain. Preparations for the Festival of the Dark were well underway when the storm hit. First, a statue gets up and walks away in the middle of the night, and now a freak storm? Just what I need. He gestured outside. Well, who's going to clean this mess up? He paced the floor with one hand rested on his chin, keeping his eyes fixed ahead of him to appear pensive. Of course, he wasn't planning to come up with any ideas himself. That's what the staff were for. He would simply take credit later, but for now, he had to focus on his ruse. The festivities are due to start in a few hours. Even the seers didn't see the storm coming. It'll take a miracle to get up and running on time. His assistant avoided his eyes. He turned his back on her, and the scene unfolded below as the townspeople emerged from their homes and businesses to survey the wreckage. With the election coming up, it would help if the townspeople saw you out there getting your hands dirty, she said. His nose crinkled. He took a seat at the desk and leaned back. I should think not. He pulled a loose leaf of paper from the pile on his desk and began to scan the words on the page. He wondered if his eyes were moving too fast across the page. Isn't that Vinyl down there, helping Baker Beadle with his broken awning? She asked, pointing. He squinted, then leaned across the table to get a better look. She was schmoozing the Beadles outside the bakery. Her mousy brown hair waved as she talked. She was animated as always. She never failed to make a spectacle of herself, and today would be no exception. I heard she's running against you next term, Jenny remarked. Where did you say we kept the cleaning supplies again? He rose from his leather chair and made his way out onto the plaza. He studied the area from the steps of the town hall. He settled on a broom that was propped up on a chair outside a restaurant. His competition shot him a wide smile across the plaza. He waved a hand in acknowledgement. What a manipulative woman, he thought. Her smiles clearly disguised her hunger for power. If only the people of Ritherhive could see it as well as he did. His arms were tired from sweeping. He looked down, proud at the square of clear concrete in front of him. Never mind the chaos that still surrounded him. His pride fell as he heard the townspeople cheering her name. Across the way, Vile twirled her wand and the fallen bricks sprung to life. They assembled themselves in mid-air and settled into place. He thought for a moment. What could he do? He wasn't any good at practical magic. He didn't need magic to be mayor, just as his father and his grandfather before him hadn't needed it to hold on to their positions in office. Magic dripped from his fingers and encircled the broom. It twitched in place for a moment and then lunged towards him and whacked him on the head with a thump. Before he could react, it rebounded and crashed into a nearby window. He stumbled forward with all the grace of a troll, and with a few tries, he caught the thrashing broomstick in his hands. His victory was, however, short-lived. As if in retaliation, the broom began to rise. Higher and higher until only his toes remained on the floor. He clutched with a second hand and pulled down with a grunt, causing nearby constituents to look up. He made eye contact with Rosie Beadle as his feet drifted off the ground. He felt his grey complexion flush pink as embarrassment crashed through him. He gripped tightly onto the wood handle of the broom as he dangled above the clouds. The wind crashed around him, lashing at his cheeks. He was too high to let go now. He had hesitated for too long. Hanging this way wouldn't do. The longer he held on, the sorer his fingers grew, and as his fingers became sweatier, he felt himself slowly slipping. The people below pointed up at him, whispering and sniggering between themselves. He waited for the next bump and then used the momentum to swing himself onto the top of the broomstick. He gripped tightly with his legs and let his weight sink into the solid wood stick that held him in the air. He held on for dear life, with the bristles tickling his face. What a ridiculous sight, he thought. A grown man clutching onto a broomstick as if his life depended on it. He soared like that for some time. He allowed himself to open his eyes. Down below, he watched as the town came alive. The streets were lined with thousands of dots. Little people came out to celebrate despite the challenges of the previous day. He looked out towards the sea, where the calm waters reflected the brilliant sun now at its highest point in the clear sky. All the fear dissipated as the calm of the scene washed over him. The sky darkened around him gradually, and he knew he could not look until the moon totally eclipsed the sun, leaving nothing but a bright ring. He could not wait to brag about his vista in the sky once his feet touched the ground.